Deaf Noodles is a character that I have discussed here on this channel ad nauseum. In my Deaf Noodles video, Iceberg Explained, I spoke about his rise and his inevitable fall from grace. And even more recently on a live stream, we spoke about the fact that Deaf Noodles and his friendship group had somehow fallen apart. And why was this? Well, because these men no longer served any purpose to Deaf Noodles and his endeavors. Deaf Noodles, during his fall from grace with his roast battle and just overall inability to create good comedy, was uplifted by two members of a completely different minority group, two Black African American men. These two men, who were the spirited wind beneath Dennis's wings, were individuals by the name of Corey as well as Stephen. Now, if we were to look at this as if it was some kind of book, we would see Stephen as the matter-of-fact friend, the friend that would just tell you how it is, but at the same time always have your back and your best interests at heart. And Corey would play the oblivious friend that, despite your many shortcomings as a writer, as a comedian, as a business person, as a person just in general, would always be oblivious to the facts and always try to show you in the best light possible. These were Dennis's friends. However, more recently on a podcast, Stephen had a lot to say about the relationship deconstruction between himself as well as Corey and Deaf Noodles, even posting online something to the effect of "do not work for somebody else's plantation." And whilst yes, it's pretty clear that Stephen was talking about working for somebody else's establishment, the use of the term plantation made me feel as if there was some racial undertones and some racial connotations. Was he talking about the plantation as a business, or was he talking about the plantation as a vehicle, a mechanism, if you will, to discuss the fact that Dennis had utilized the skills and expertise of two individuals of African American descent to uplift and bolster his own business endeavors? Because when you're talking about a plantation, you're truly talking about working for free. And that led me to a completely different theory, the theory of the magical Negro trope. And was it possible that Dennis utilized these magical Negroes' abilities in order to come to his own version of self-realization? Because as we know, Dennis is now on a massive apology tour all across social media, trying to regain the respect of members within the commentary community that he at one point told everybody that he didn't need. And were there some instances of Dennis weaponizing Black people, Black culture, Black heritage in order to get himself out of trouble or to put himself within the good graces of others with the "I have a Black friend" mentality? Obviously, everything I'm discussing right now is a theory, but I kind of wanted to take you on a journey of the theoretical weirdness of my mind in today's video, which is somewhat of a long form video because y'all requested this, of Deaf Noodles and the magical Negros. Hi guys, what is up? What is good? What is Gucci? It is your girl Paige Christie here, bringing you yet another video. Okay, so before we get into today's story, I feel like it's important for me to discuss some things to do with my channel. And I thought, where better to start than a discussion about Deaf Noodles whilst in tandem, me simultaneously Deaf Noodlesing, which I feel should be put in a dictionary somehow, my channel. So to keep this short, brief and sweet, just to let you guys know, I was trying a new thing with TLDR purely because I feel like in my personal life I haven't been able to manage getting a good work-life balance. First and foremost, before being a content creator, I'm a mother, and for that reason, it's kind of important for me to be extremely present in my children's life. So I kind of wanted to find a way to streamline content in order to bring you guys content, whilst in tandem not spending forever researching and writing, script writing, as well as editing videos. It was a long and tedious way of creating content last year, and it was emotionally taxing too. So I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a step back and a break from all of that. However, now, depending on the success of this video, I've just decided to take a more relaxed approach. We aren't going to be spending 50 hours researching. We aren't going to be spending 50 billion hours editing, and we sure as hell aren't going to be spending 1,000,000,005 hours just script writing. So hopefully this more relaxed approach and just me being in my bedroom with a microphone and just talking to you guys will feel a lot more comfortable. If you like it, let me know if you want more of this kind of content, because this for me is 1,000,000,000 times more doable than what it was that I was doing last year. Last year we were doing documentaries. I want to chill the F out. So now that we've got all of the administration stuff out of the way, let's just get straight into today's video. So in my last long form video to do with Dennis Fatoza, aka Def Noodles, I spoke in length and in great detail about all of the information that we could find at that point to do with Dennis, his age, his upbringing, where it is that he comes from, and all of that good juicy stuff. So I won't be going into that today. The only thing I do want to update is that since my video, not prior, like a lot of people seem to think in the comments section, but since my video, Def Noodles has told the world that he is in fact in his late 30s and he is not in his early 20s, which was what we saw on social media in terms of his age. We were all under the impression that Dennis Fatoza, aka Def Noodles, was 25. He's not. So with that out of the way, let's just bring you guys straight up to an update as to what has been going on with Def Noodles. So since my video to do with Def Noodles, his channel has plummeted in a way that I've never seen on social media, not for a content creator of his size. I think personally, Def Noodles made the cardinal sin of what commentators tend to do from time to time, is make their content more surrounding them as an individual rather than the topic at hand. And because of that, people weren't really interested in Def Noodles as a person, in Dennis Fatoza, because I feel like essentially nobody truly really knew who Dennis Fatoza was. He started to chop up his videos with topical content whilst in tandem doing these like short bits and skits in a fast-paced vlog style format, which were heavily scripted. In these mini kind of behind-the-scenes skits, they were kind of going along the lines of something that you would see from a program like The Office, with like these mini confessional moments and everybody having a chance to break that fourth wall and talk to the audience.
I called. Got an interview Tuesday. Hey, Steven.
Yeah.
Can you step into my office?
After being unsuccessful with that, Dennis seemed to then move on to doing more reaction style content, but a much lazier format of reaction style content. Instead of being sitting up straight and very present, he was leaned back, slouched back on a chair from an awkward distance in terms of camera angles with extremely low quality, which is the kind of content that many people who followed Dennis's streaming channel had come to expect, but not the audience who had rolled with him, rolled through the punches of his older styled content, which was reaction commentary with a bit of comedy, if you can even call it that. Beyond that, Dennis had become increasingly disrespectful to not only members of his audience, his moderation team, as well as just people who were genuinely concerned for this new route that Dennis had chosen and his ability to continuously make money. He began calling everybody who had anything negative to say, even if it was shrouded in the essence of, listen dude, I just want you to do well, as a negative Nancy who needed to be removed from his channel. And this was annoying to some of his viewers because while some critique can just be negative for the sake of being negative, some negative critique is also constructive. It's a way that we can learn and grow as creators. But also as a creator, you kind of have to be receptive to that information. However, beyond his YouTube channel and his YouTube channel growth, it seemed as if he was doing pretty well when it came to his comedy store, his comedy nights and his shows, because it was continuously promoted by his other team members constantly on Twitter and other platforms. However, the main protagonists of these confessional style videos were his black friends. Prior to all of this stuff even taking place, there was also a situation with Noodles where he was being, I guess, dragged online for his racist comments, or comments that some people deemed to be racist. And when making an apology for the aforementioned racism it was that he exhibited, he brought out his black friend. We've seen a pattern here.
What do you think, Stephen?
Thank you, Dennis. Well, I think white supremacy is going to find a way to benefit from everything. You know, that's their job.
So throughout the highs and lows of his podcast, as well as his live show, the people who were really facing the brunt of attention were people who the community at large were deeming to have enabled Noodles, to have emboldened him, if you will. And these people were Corey as well as Stephen. However, I would argue that Corey and Stephen were doing their jobs as friends and just uplifting their friend as best as they could. Anyway, so after all of those shenanigans took place, then we had Noodles' apology tour, where he basically went from content creator to content creator, leaving them the exact same formatted message that he discussed with his audience beforehand, making it the most insincere apology ever, asking them for their forgiveness and hoping that he would be accepted to a community that he once shunned. But this was all off the tails of losing his two closest and most uplifting friends, as far as we can see here as viewers. So let's get into the interview it is that Stephen did and take a look at this even deeper. So if you guys don't know who Stephen is one of the close friends of Dennis Vitoza, who I believe was hired to be like a podcast member. He didn't really know Stephen prior to hiring him, and he became like a mainstay of Dennis's channel and Dennis's future endeavors. Basically anything to do with the club. Stephen was the target of relentless dragging on social media, as well as clowning and trolling, as well as being given the nickname of Skid Row Steve because of how unkempt many people found him on social media. Well, a couple of weeks ago, Stephen decided to sit down and do an interview with another content creator, basically discussing his time with Dennis, as well as what caused the friendship group to fall apart. Take a look.
So essentially, he sent Corey those messages, and simultaneously, he reached out to like 3 or 4 people that we had on the roast battles to produce their own shows. So why would you, quote unquote, fire Corey, who's been having successful shows for free, producing them for free, making the flyers, promoting on them on his Instagram, promoting them on his Twitter, bringing his audience out. Meanwhile, Dennis is not even promoting the shows. Dennis is not even putting the shows out and posting about them.
Really?
Barely even putting it on his Twitter. So all this responsibility is held, at least the last 4 or 5 months, was on Corey alone. And he was successfully bringing at least 50 to 60 people out every Friday, as well as conducting the open mics during the week.
So it says, "Hi, Corey. Hope you're well. Moving forward, all shows and podcast productions you're doing at the studio are suspended until further notice." This is all a weird way to say all this, too. This is like some HR cranked out bullshit or something. I'm sorry, I'll continue. "We are doing a New Year reevaluation of all productions, and my assistant will reach back to you at a later time about future opportunities. Stay safe. Peace." And then he says, "The latest ep of the podcast you filmed here will be dropped in your folder later today." So it says, "Starting January 9th, all comic bookings at the club will have to audition for me first. We are planning a monthly pass/no pass audition with talent. Comics who pass will then register at the club, and I'm sorry to dox somebody, Maria will put them on his schedule. Comics who do not pass will be welcome to participate in at least 4 mics in a 1-month period before re-auditioning the next month. Wow, this is very technical here. The first audition will be held January 7th. Please confirm receipt of this message, and I'll have Maria reach out to you tomorrow to schedule the comics you want to come in for the next audition. Veteran comic drop-ins will only be cleared by me moving forward. Also, moving forward, standard rule at the building is no more smoking inside, both at the club, production offices, and podcast studio. Okay. But yeah, so that's the messages that he sent Corey, which, yeah, what are your thoughts on that then?
So exactly, like, after you've been successfully running shows for 6 months, closing out the year, which is, assuming is going to be the slowest time of the year, closing out on the heels of this drama where people online has essentially turned on you and you have little to no support on the ground. So your online support that you did have, it dwindled as far as how many of those people would actually support you on the ground, just because of the nature of the roast battles that you ran in the past and how people felt when they were in the space. So you're on this reconstruction like curve right now, this downfall that Corey actually helped keep afloat, because Corey was the one bringing in his people. We organized, me and Corey booked out all the shows. We booked out all the shows right before I left. So every show was booked out. All the comedians, the sponsors, the people who was coming up, the drinks, all that shit was taken care of. We already had that shit on the calendar. We already had it ready to go. So Corey was still the one responsible for making sure people came out. Dennis wasn't promoting the shows on his Twitter or on his Instagram. I kept sending Dennis messages telling him, yo, you got to make a landing page for the club so people can know about the shows without having to go to Corey's Instagram. Everybody shouldn't have to go to Corey's Instagram to know if there's a show happening on Friday. There should be a separate page, the Deaf Noodle Comedy, and he just now got that. He just now started that.
I can't believe that he never thought that was a good idea. Especially after you guys would tell him that it was. Like, what the hell? But all right, so no promotion.
So it was just asinine for all this pressure to be put on us, and particularly Corey, to bring out people. He's making the flyers, he's booking the shows, he's bringing the comics in, and he's bringing the guests in, and he's pretty much being the face when people show up because they're trying to figure out what's going on there. So he's introducing himself, he's greeting everybody, he's getting them drinks, and some of the times we're not even performing. So we do all this work and we don't even get the benefit of performing, because once you do shit like this, you're just happy to get your friends on. And it gets to the point where it's like, I don't even want to take up any, well, it gets to the point where you're like, I don't even want to take up any space because, we already got 8 comics and Dennis wants to go up. So Dennis is going to go up and he's going to be in the middle of the show. He's going to do his thing. And then everybody else is going to go up. And it gets to the point where I'm like, I'm just so happy to see it come together. I'm not even going to do my 10 minutes. And a lot of times me and Corey wouldn't even perform because we'll be giving space for other people, particularly Dennis, setting space for him so he can do his thing.
So you guys, you're painting a good picture here, Steven, that you guys, I think that this is a good way to kind of steer the conversation here towards the end too. Like, you guys, you and Corey, not only were you funny on the shows that you did with him and funny and all the shit that I saw you in, but you did all the legwork too. Like, I think that it should be known out there that you and Corey, you guys do some fucking amazing work. You guys are funny on top of it, and you do all this fucking crazy shit. So I really think that, it's a shame, all this shit with Dennis, and I hate to hear that stuff about the other club you said you were helping with, and that fell through too. I just think that you have the right mentality about things. You want to be positive, and you kind of want to move forward with it, and I think that you and Corey have shown that you guys are fucking excellent people to have work for you and have around in this kind of stuff. So, having said that, moving forward, I hope that people come out to you. People come to you for things and want to watch your shit. So I hope that if there's anything you're doing moving forward, that these people see, like, Steven's legit, Corey's legit. Y'all had to be here.
Like
legit.
we get support. It sucks that we're always scrambling for space or a platform just to showcase our talent. But no, bro, like, we get support. Like, there's been a couple of times where I had shows when I was out in New York and people would pull up, oh, I seen you on the Deaf Noodle show. I'm such a good fan. I love your work, and they continue to come, support our shit, So I think that was another thing too that possibly created a rift, because we, like you said, thank you for the words, but we are legitimately, like, talented. We work on our shit every day. This is the only thing that I want to do is to be able to produce this art. So it's like,
so in this podcast, Steven discusses the fact that he was never really paid for anything it is that he did with Dennis. He had been given a subscription for BetterHelp but never used it, and Dennis was upset about that and basically fired Corey for absolutely no reason, and that was the beginning of their friendship ending. Now, only God knows what the reasoning is behind why Dennis decided to take such drastic measures and remove the people who essentially helped build his entire quote-unquote empire that seems to be doing pretty well right now. But it didn't help these individuals feeling used and abused. And when Stephen made that quote on Twitter about feeling like he was working on somebody else's plantation, that really spoke to the insides of me. Because before being a content creator, before being a mother even, before being a wife, I first of all am Black. So when he spoke that, a bitch heard it. So it kind of just deepened my level of empathy for Stephen, because I kind of understood how he felt working for somebody else and having absolutely nothing to show for it at the end of it. And regardless of your ethnicity, your phenotype, or anything like that, I feel like everybody can resonate with the idea of working for free on something and then getting absolutely no respect or even just a pat on the back or a thank you for the work it is that they've done. Everybody can resonate with that. However, that one line alone that he posted to his Twitter really made me think about the magical Negro trope. Now, if you don't know what the magical Negro trope is, let me explain it to you. So basically, the magical Negro trope is basically the idea that Black people, stereotypically in films as well as in writing, can present a presence that is only there to help the protagonist, who ends up being a white individual. Films such as The Green Mile is a very good example of this, where a subservient Black individual helps a white protagonist learn something. Hopefully you're following. To explain it a little bit deeper, Etman and Rozak noted the main purposes of a magical Negro to the lead white character in the film to assist the character, to help him or her discover and utilize his or her spirituality, and to offer a type of folk wisdom used to resolve the character's dilemma. The white character's dilemma, not the Black character's gifts or spirituality, serve as the primary focus in these films. So whilst this trope may be rooted in spirituality when we think of films like Green Mile, there are also examples of this trope being utilized outside the realms of spirituality. For instance, the other day, I was watching Sex and the City on Netflix, the first movie, and there was also that trope being displayed in front of me there, where the assistant to Sarah Jessica Parker, who was played by Jennifer Hudson, came over as the magical Negro and solved every problem for her, whilst making her learn and realize that she just needed big. Carrie, who is played by Sarah Jessica Parker, hires an assistant to help her out with everything after her wedding didn't come to fruition. She not only helps her move into her old apartment, rearrange her life, get her website running, keep her life moving streamlined to perfection. It was Jennifer Hudson's honesty and resilience when it came to love that helped Carrie realize that whatever obstacle it was that they were facing could be overcome. However, in all versions of the magical Negro trope, it seems as if the Black person always ends up having to suffer in some degree to help the progression of the main protagonist. So then it just really made me think about the Deaf Noodles situation. How in Stephen's recollection of events, these two young Black men helped build up and prop up Dennis's business and helped spearhead all of the promotion behind all of the events to make his business what it is today, and how promptly they were dropped when the self-realization moment had happened and the protagonist, in this case Dennis, had the chance to just move on. I mean, this goes as far as to even donate money to other white people rather than paying the black staff, the black members of his staff who helped put his vision to life. I mean, we have to question to a point where Deaf Noodles would much rather fund the litigation of Keemstar rather than to pay his black team members who have been helping his business throughout not only this time, but throughout the pandemic. Within the magical Negro trope, the magical Negro has to lose something. In this case, Corey loses his job and Steven loses his home, his abode. And the title of Skid Row Steve ended up cutting that little bit deeper because it was his reality. A reality at the hands of the white protagonist. And now with Dennis releasing his recent video to do with the fact that he wanted to move on from the past and apologize to people and giving a really deep and sensitive and almost endearing apology to his audience, we as viewers are simultaneously urged to move on from the fact that Dennis still hasn't looked after the magical Negroes who helped him build his business to what it is, offering them help with their mental health in proximity to Dennis rather than giving them the help it is that they need. It feels almost as if Dennis is giving reparations to everybody else in the world but the people who actually helped him. So a part of me feels as if with Steven and Corey, they fulfilled their roles in this quote-unquote movie of Dennis's life where he is the main character, bitch, of being the magical Negroes. They served their purpose. But once their purpose is served, what's truly left for them? Well, Steven, at this point, as far as we know, has no fixed abode and is doing his best to fulfill his passion of comedy, something that he's very good at. Steven, you're good, okay, dude? Keep going. You are on the right track, my dude. And Corey, the oblivious archetype, has just continued on as if nothing happened. But Corey, I saw you liking my tweets, my dude. Okay, so I know that you know what I'm feeling. We're feeling the same thing, my dude. So for me, in the case of Dennis Vitoza, it feels as if he not only weaponized, but leveraged his presence within the black community and his black friends and black culture in order to gain exactly what it is that he needed to gain. And then once he got there, his magical Negroes, poof, disappeared. And we're supposed to pretend as if all of this never happened and to move forward in good light with Dennis. But everything that shines brightly in the light will always be forever compressed by the darkness. So as far as I'm concerned, if Dennis really wants to shine as brightly as he should do right by these magical, amazing, awesome, black excellence comedians that have helped him get to where he is today. Because the reason you learnt this lesson was because there are people around you to help you and your main character develop. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this little, I don't know what the hell this is, girl. I'm just here with the mic doing something different. If you guys enjoy this more relaxed approach, let me know. I really appreciate everybody's feedback on TLDR. We are going to continue to do TLDR. We're just going to probably like move it to shorts. I'm thinking that that's going to be the vibe, but I do need to have a meeting with my team in order to decide that. Anyway, regardless of all of that, I hope you guys have an amazing day or evening, whatever the hell it is you're doing. I want to say a massive thank you to my members, my patrons, as well as the Twitch gang. You guys have been holding me down. I hope you guys have an amazing day or evening, whatever the hell it is you're doing. And then thank you for listening to today's crazy video. The next one is going to be absolutely crazy. I want to be talking about the trans debate on TikTok. I'm going to be filming that tomorrow. So if you guys want to hear me talk about the trans debate and potentially get cancelled, let me know. With that being said, have an amazing day or evening, whatever the hell it is that you guys are doing. And until next time, it's been Paige. Bye. Paige.